to start.
Okay, so it is the official now opening for this the panel discussion. But before we open, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time. But we're going to start with a prayer. And I don't know if we have anybody who would want to help us with a prayer in opening. Do we have anybody? Do we have anybody? No? Okay, then I'll just...
Let us pray. Jehovah, Father, we want to thank you and continue glorifying your name. We thank you for having given us a gift of life this morning, even the opportunity to gather in such a manner where we are about to discuss what you have given us as talents and that which pertains to it. Father, we pray that may this program begin and end with you. It is through your Son, Jesus Christ, that we pray with thanksgiving in our hearts. Amen.
Amen. To all the viewers who are watching us via the Facebook page, Sotambe Film Institute, thank you so much. Of course, you can take part in the conversation via contributing on that same space, and we'll have some of your comments read and shared with our moderator so that we can read them. Could be a question or comment, we'll definitely share. Thank you so much. And I'll allow Muthui now to take over as she'll be looking at intellectual property laws and how to safeguard your content. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Intellectual property. I believe if you're not aware of what your rights are as a creative, you're up for manipulation. And so I'll start with you, Morgan. Being a creative based here and being that you're part of an association that looks after the welfare of creatives here, how do you feel the laws of the land protect creatives in Zambia?
Thank you. I think that has been, it's part of the ongoing policy framework. We haven't had a policy specifically for arts and film, but I think they're in the process. Anytime, I think there was a validation process that was going through, and we're looking forward to have all the submissions that we made so that our works as creatives are protected. But currently, there's not been much of any ways of protecting content apart from the old ways, those ways that we know. Yeah, I think it's at that level for now.
Is there sort of any awareness that goes on through the association with the help of probably IP lawyers who help you know how to safeguard your content? From the time you have your concept to the time you've finished producing your film?
Apart from the usual workshops that we have, there hasn't really been so much. And we are more of on the defensive side because most of the times we have cases that just come about. This one having maybe done somebody's work. So we have quite a number of case studies that we have now. And from there, that's where we're having now awareness programs in our workshops with our members. Yeah. So I think it's somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay. This goes to Alick. Being that you're running a VOD platform, which you'll tell us how far and wide people can access the content on your platform, and you have multiple submissions of content. So how do you ensure that people's content is safe on the platform, one, because piracy is a big problem in this continent, and secondly, how are producers and filmmakers able to track who is watching their content and how it's being monetized so that they can, they get the revenue share based on the contracts you do? First, answer those two.
All right, thank you for the question. So our platform allows whoever brings content to the platform, we give them access to see the number of views, to see how much the content is making. We give them access to the platform. And another way that we protect the content is that we come up with agreements. It's either it's licensed or a publishing agreement for the platform, for the content that they've brought to the platform.
Okay, so have you ever experienced incidences where the platform is compromised and people's content is somewhere in the space?
No, our interface is quite solid.
Okay, great. I want to hear from Kalumbu. You have been part of ZNBC and have seen the transitions from the old analog platform to digitization. So how do you feel that transition also helped build on this conversation of protecting intellectual property? Because I know a lot of filmmakers in different places see their content in platforms that they did not distribute to. So how do you ensure that the filmmakers who you partner with know that their content is safe with ZNBC?
Thank you. Well, issues of copyright have been very cardinal for the national broadcaster. You realize that being a public institution, we are interested in making sure that we safeguard the content and the copyright of the film producers or distributors that bring their content to ZNBC. One of the requirements that we demand as ZNBC in an effort to safeguard and protect the content of our producers and distributors is that when you submit your works to ZNBC, we demand that you give us proof of ownership or copyright of the content that you're submitting. That is one area that we actually emphasize. I think as the film industry is evolving, I usually make reference to our colleagues in the music industry who have had quite a very solid, copyright laws in place. I think most of artists that continue bringing music, for example, to ZNBC, we demand that they bring a copyright certificate from ZAMCOPS, which protects us as an institution. Whenever we play their music, we know that this music has been safeguarded and there's a copyright that secures us from playing their music. Unlike our colleagues in the film industry, we do not have that yet in place, but we have experienced film producers who do come. At some point, they used to come to us with some letter of some sort from, is it the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting then, which is now Ministry of Broadcasting and Media, which would give us assurance that the content that is being submitted to us is the rightful content by the producer that is submitting that work. So that gives us an assurance, a guarantee that whatever content we are broadcasting has been secured by the producer, and there's proof that this content is theirs to avoid any litigation on our end. Further, we broadcast on various platforms. With you've mentioned that with the digital migration that has taken place in the country, we now broadcasting on terrestrial. Where there are a number of channels that are now also operating on VOD, DTT, and these other platforms. So when we sign license agreements, we also make sure that we have clauses in the contract that spells out the kind of rights that you're giving us as a broadcaster. So usually when we're dealing with, for example, foreign content that comes into the country, usually they would ask us to say that this content is exclusive to the Zambian territory. So the producer or the distributor, they specify the type of rights that they are giving us. So this is also a call to our local producers that they need to make sure that they learn of all these issues that govern copyrights of their content, to make sure that as you are licensing the content, you specify the territories or the geographical boundaries that your content is supposed to be accessed. So that actually is one area that we try to have conversations with our local film producers as a national broadcaster.
Okay, thank you. So Bridget, could you tell us as an association how filmmakers benefit maybe on conflict resolution? Because I know those conversations arise a lot in terms of people's content being either exploited online or on platforms. And what's your mandate as NAMA in protection of IP rights for creatives?
Thank you so much for that question. Before I answer your question, I just want to make it clear that when we begin to talk about IP issues with our content creators, it's a wide topic. It concerns probably a creator to creator kind of issues. Also sometimes content buyers against creators. Sometimes it's this online business which has come. So when it comes to us as an association in terms of coming to help our members, it's issue by issue because they differ. We have had instances where you find that one content creator will come and say, no, this was my idea, but as I was sharing with my friend, I found my content is already produced. Or sometimes you tell them that, you know, this was my idea, I sold it to this this broadcasting house, and after years or after some seasons, they replace me as producer, they give another person. To us also, that is infringement of the creators' rights. Some creators are given contracts to sign, but because sometimes they're too fast because they want money, they don't get to read properly. And then when they hit the fan, they begin to run to the association. But some of the challenges we have, or I can say the benefit that we have, is that we are knowledgeable on how we can help in terms of just advising. That is how far we can go. But we ride on the National Arts Council Act of 1994, which needs to be revised, because some of these things that involve technology are not embedded in that act. So we use just what is pertaining on the ground. But to just safely assure our members, what we've done as an association is that we've identified some of the people who are also our members, but are rich in intellectual property knowledge. So every time there is where we need mitigation, we form a ad hoc committee to sit and, you know, be able to arbitrate between the erring parties. And so far it has worked, but it's not something we can rely on to say it's what we can use going forward. Allow me at this moment to just recognize the presence of Mr. Makumba in the audience. He's one of our gurus that is very knowledgeable about intellectual property, and he once worked for a statutory body that actually oversees intellectual property in Zambia, which is PACRA. It was PACRO by then. So he's one of the people that we go to say we've got this case, handle it for us, and so far it has worked well. But just to wind up on the questions, I want to put it on record that the Ministry of Youth, Arts and Sport are currently working on the long overdue film policy. But I was glad that I was currently part of the people that were going around. So one of the thematic areas that is very thorny, and that's why we're pushing it forward, is actually the copyright thematic area. Thank you.
Awesome. I'll take the question to Alick now in regards to having multiple content on your platform. How do you keep track that contracts are, adhered to? Because I've worked in broadcast as well, and one of the complaints you'd find is someone seated in the back office is not aware the contract has expired. So how have you ensured, have you automated those processes to ensure that every term of the contract is adhered to in terms of territories? Or, so start with that, because I also want to check on which kinds of contracts in terms of territories, do you geo-block some content and all that?
All right, so the system is actually automatic. When we're uploading the content, we also put the expiration date. So it's automatic, and the system is also assimilated with Google, so we get a notification a week before the contract expires. So we can talk to the owner whether we renew or it's a done thing.
Okay, so when I'm submitting a film to you, what chain of titles do I need to have completed or signed before you can completely accept that this content is mine?
All right. Firstly, it just doesn't have to be you. You have to tell us the team you're working with, because I know there are always those credibilities at the end of whatever program it is. Might be a talk show, might be a reality show, might be a movie. So we would like to sit down with your team, and we would ask if everything is in place. We want to see if you're able to present a copyright as well, and if you actually even paid your costs, because the instances where people put out something when they actually got still issues with the team that they work with, either the crew or the cast. So we have to counter check all that before we actually can sit down and see whether you're licensing it, or we can agree whether we're selling it on views or anything that would interest you.
Kalumbu, maybe also you can also touch on the chain of titles that you also require filmmakers to submit before you accept that this content is going to go on air.
Thank you. So, as I think those who were present yesterday, I think I did run through some of the models that we use as ZMBC in acquiring content. So one of them is that when we are doing the open public tender to call for people to submit their content, we have a list of requirements that they must satisfy for them to make the cut for us to even go to the next stage of evaluating their content. And I did mention that this actually has been our call for film producers to operate as business entities, which I think has been an issue that has been a thorny issue in the past years in the film industry, where a lot of our film producers have not been operating as business entities. So one of the requirements is that you have to satisfy that you're a business entity. So there's certain documentation that you need to submit for us to consider your content. We need to see your company profile. We need to see your park registration, that you're a fully registered business entity, your ZRA compliance, are you tax compliance, this is the Zambia public procurement documentation to prove that you're eligible to conduct business with a public institution like ourselves. And you also need to submit copyright or proof of ownership of the content that you are submitting. Because we do realize that certain productions, you may just be a distributor, you are distributing content on behalf of producers. So we also need to see proof that these producers have given you the authority to distribute that content on their behalf. Because there are certain distributors who bring content from other producers without any proof that they've been given that authority to submit that content. So we also demand to have a look at all those documents to make sure that at the time we are licensing that content, or at the time we are commissioning, we know that whatever we are putting on air is content that we've done this background check, and we are protecting ourselves as an institution from any legal issues that may arise from airing content that may not have been fully adhered to with the requirements that we would have put in place.
Morgan, do you feel creatives are aware of their creative rights, first of all, and if not, why not?
I think I can start with, I know a few are aware, but we need an extensive program where we can have workshops and really make our artists aware before they actually start working on their content, how they can protect their content. Yeah, so we have a program. We have a roadmap to reach out to all the content creators across the country so that we can make them aware. Though we still riding on the odd ways of protecting content as you start, because you can't wait. Content is just to happen. We know that the media landscape is changing fast, and certain things needs to change in terms of policy. But however, I think much needs to be done to reach out to the artists so that they are aware of how they can protect their content before they actually get to start working on their content.
Could you touch a bit on how you feel piracy has affected this industry?
I think I've got a case study. There used to be a time when, first of all, content started getting to DVDs. And I think there was the Minister of Information rolled out a system that was put in place to curb piracy, though it never, they enforced it a little bit. But we used to have problems when we want to follow up on the cases, because they introduced what was that on the DVD? That was a hologram. Yeah, but we used to have problems when you get a case where people are pirating produced as content. When you take them to court, most of the, not to court, first you get to the police. So most of the cases just used to reach a dead end because first of all, the police didn't know which charge to give and how to go about it. So this has been an issue. Yes, this has been an issue with us. So we're looking forward that when this policy framework is in place, I think we'll reach where these cases are supposed to be. Then from there, I'm sure we're going to have a way of dealing with these in terms of piracy.
Okay, great. So I will take now the questions to the audience. So if anyone has questions, this is your time to ask the panelists. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead. Is the online audience needs to hear you, so.
Okay, good morning, the panel. I have a lot of questions that are usually that involve a lot of problems. So I'll just ask a few. First, we need, as we sit here, there are other people that don't even understand what these intellectual property laws are. Okay? Then there are other people in here that have had issues with intellectual property. Let's understand one thing. From what I understand, we don't have intellectual property laws in Zambia. I stand to be corrected. So it's some sort of weird to even get into certain things when, for starters, we don't. I'll give you an example. Some of us who've lived our entire lives in Zambia, remember when Brenda Muntamba was police spokesperson during the time of Supershine and CDs? You remember that time? There was a group of people in Matero that were pirating music. So what used to happen was, at some point they were raided by the police. They actually confiscated a lot of CDs, pirated CDs and tapes. Ask me what happened. These guys only spent less than 24 hours in police custody. The police got the entire track of pirated CDs and tapes, and the only thing they could do was ban the CDs, and the case was suspended. Like I said, the police don't even know what to do. So as we're waiting for the long-awaited film and arts policy, I thought the first thing that especially my madam and her VP would bring out here would be to highlight the fact that we don't have that and tell us at least what NAMA is able to do. I would have loved if the PS or somebody from the ministry was here, so we can deliberately have certain things in place as we're waiting for the amendment of whatever from the line ministries. That we can come up with a deliberate thing that can actually protect content creators, because no matter how long we're going to spend here, trust me, tomorrow we're going to hear another case of intellectual property law in Zambia, because it's just a thing of, like Madam said, he'll call Mr. Malumba, what's his name, sorry, yeah, he'll call him and a group of people, they sit down, in short, they'll just bring Halili and someone else to a mutual understanding. This is something that is very serious. Intellectual property is a very serious thing. Coming to ZMBC, I think, I'm not attacking you, but I think ZMBC hasn't favored content creators when it comes to even intellectual property and how to safeguard these things. Go to the States or anywhere else, do your case study even on African film or intellectual property. You don't need to tell me to bring you the ZRA documents. I don't need the ZRA, because if there's Zambian country, if Zambian law, if I don't exist in the Zambian law, why am I paying tax? I don't exist. We are practically we're like Baba men here, or people that's just run saloons. The only thing we can do is probably go to the council and have a trading license, not ZRA. I stand to be corrected. Do you know why I'm saying that? I don't exist in the Zambian law. I don't exist in the Zambian constitution. There's no word filmmaker. There's no word musician. But I employ more people than certain sectors. The government will give him, if this guy was a farmer, the government will even give him free fertilizer. They'll give him farming support. They'll give him over 100,000 kwacha without even knowing whether it will rain this year or not. If it doesn't rain, if he goes on a loss, the government would never go to him and say, we had given you over 100,000 kwacha of farming inputs. Bring back our money. No. But the government will not give me a single dime. But why should I go to, what is ZRA's business with me? You see that? Because there are certain moments when him as a director will partner with me as a producer. You see? We're not making a company. It's intellectual property. So if we get to have this idea and pitch to ZMBC, then ZMBC starts giving us the thing of, no, you need to go through the tendering process. It's cumbersome. This is why we ignore you. This is why we don't bring content to you. You get my point? Because you are giving us these things that are not helping. I'll give you an example. She's from Media Pros. I have, they're distributing my reality show. I have a contract with Media Pros because I have a reality show called Scars. It's never been broadcasted here. And yet they have submitted, they would tell you how it's been welcomed by while they've distributed. Even certain big channels that are not just here, I don't want to start their issues, that ended up copying after submitting and getting into negotiations of how much they'll buy. A few weeks later, they went quiet, only to hear that they started recreating the same reality show, and it's on Honey TV today. They're calling it a different name. Same format, same everything. I can't take DSTV to court. I don't have the money. I don't have the lawyers. I can't even come to NAMA because the government, there's no law that tells NAMA to say they can work within this. They can't sit mouth choice down. So it's frustrating, sorry.
Let's allow responses, then I come to you. Okay.
Thank you for this opportunity to just perhaps shed some light on that. For a start, we have IP laws in this country. We have IP laws in this country. They exist on our statutes. Just like we have laws that work against theft, burglary, but we still have corruption going on. We still have theft in our courts. So IP is about application. What we need to learn amongst ourselves is how to benefit from the laws that exist. You touched on a lot of things. I don't know if I will be able to cover them all. I will try in the limited time I have. For example, you want to protect your own property. Property protection is by registration. You can register it as an individual or your production house. So you walk over to the PACRA office, which is Patents and Companies Registration Agency. They deal with all IP laws in this country. When you have registered it, now you have protected it. And it's first come, first to own. Now, there could be disputes that this is owned by this one and another one counters it. There are simple methods you can use to protect or cover that. When you write creatives, you start writing on paper. Write on paper, give it a date on paper. The rough cast that you start with. Our tendency is when we improve the idea, we tear the papers and start again. Those first drafts you write, store them When the draft is making sense, send them by mail, postal mail to yourself. Keep that letter in your office unopened. What that does is it gives you the date you put on the draft yourself, the stamp from the post office. That gives you the basis for you to say, from the date of this, I own this draft. When you go to your computer, you can print it out, date it, do the same. Email to yourself and send it by postal. So that now, when you go at law, you have got evidence to produce. If there's any information you can keep in WhatsApp, in whatever communications, they come dated by the platform, WhatsApp or whatever. That's another basis for you to prove. So in short, the laws exist. What we don't know is how to use them so that we can benefit. Things like we don't exist in the Constitution. We all exist in the Constitution by virtue of the fact that it says Zambians. If you are a Zambian, then you exist. That's why we have a green nation registration card. Now, these things of ZRA, ZPPA, come in to counter difficulties we've had in the industry of why you and not me? Why Mrs. Malumba and not Mr. Kalumbu? Why has this one been offered a contract? So they put conditions. One, are you a taxpayer? Why do you, if you don't want to register with ZRA, you trade as an individual, you pay your tax as an individual, it's perfect. But you still have to pay tax as an individual, even if you are not registered. It's normal in this country. The other conditions that come is because of the laws we have. When we compare with other jurisdictions like US, they have got their social security number, which covers everything in their name. For us here, it's our NRC number. Yeah, I don't know if I've left out anything.
I think you misunderstood me.
Okay.
When I say we don't exist, it's not us not existing as Zambians.
Yes.
Creatives, there's nothing that protects, there's nothing that, for example, I give an example of a farmer. They are defined as farmers, okay? Sorry, sir. I'm saying, when I said we don't
I
exist.
hope you keep it short so that I can answer quickly.
Okay. In fact, it's okay. Even if you we don't exist because of NRCs.
Yeah,
so
but
then,
yet
one
again,
last thing. This intellectual property, let us not mislead ourselves. The IP law you are talking about, which is there, I know it. We have encountered these issues. The problem the problem I personally have with most of people that say we have, even when we don't have, is when you generalize the media space or the creative space with other industries. This is a very delicate industry, sir. Okay? So I have had issues where we have gone to PACRA. And we have had these intellectual property disputes, and the only thing they could say is we don't have something that is specific on creatives. So they end up saying the same thing you started saying. No, you need to, that's why when you have an idea, you need to email to somebody. Come on. Not everywhere, madam. So this is what they start saying. You need to email to somebody. It becomes the only thing, which means you are only protecting yourself by when you email, okay? But when you come, look at the time we were doing. I used to produce music. I have that experience. Look at the time we pushed the government into bringing holograms. Okay? It was a way because we realized the creative space was not protected enough. So when people started pirating too much of CDs and music, we pushed the government into introducing the holograms on CDs. When you have an album, 1,000 copies, you take these 1,000 copies to the ministry, they put your hologram there, the silver thing, remember? To certify, to just authenticate, to say this is an original copy. Okay? Because that was another way to just differentiate this from this. You see that? But that died a natural death without bringing in a modern thing. We are using things that were done before we even could realize now this industry is this.
Maybe before you step in, so I can leave this topic. You see, we exist. I say that again. We exist. In front of us is the president of the National Association of Media Arts, affiliated to National Arts Council, a government body. So, what we need to perfect is how to begin to benefit from government concerning what we want. Not too long ago, I think a year or so, we began to fight the battle that we don't have incentives from government. Since you mentioned about farmers being given FISP, Farmer Support Input Program, we began to fight that we're having it difficult to buy equipment because of the tax we have to pay. The tax has been waived now. For us artists, all you have to say is, where do you belong? Is it from the comedians? Is it from the musicians? Is it from the media? Is it from those who do visual arts? You can procure your equipment having been recognized that you exist. So there are things being done. There's more that can be done. What we need to do is we begin to do engagements with government so that we can benefit more. Identify what it is we want. Are we now saying we don't want to follow some of the procurement processes that the national broadcaster is following, that you must be registered as a company, or is that what we're looking for? Then we agree as an industry. So when we present our cases, we are united and we can stand behind it. You know, I know we haven't reached a place where we can say we are very happy with everything, but I think that government now is listening to us. Is listening to us. They are actually searching for funds. You know, I don't want to preempt that because it will be announced properly at some stage by our president. So there are things being done. The difficulties of safeguarding IP rights. Let's seek an audience with each other, and so we can talk. What is it that is missing? Do we want something specific for our laws? Because when you go to the police and the police don't know, look, go to court. In the court, there are lawyers who know that. The judges will know that. The police are not experts at every law. They are not experts. Their point is to receive your complaint and take it to court. So you take a complaint to court and they just say, okay, so we are barring this. Maybe it could have been a corruption issue. They want to protect the one who was selling. Maybe they are the cut in it. Go to court. There, we'll be able to get protection. I submit.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Makumba. You've touched quite a number of things. But as I sit here as NAMA president, before I dwell into some of the comments from my colleague, I'd like to put it on record that we're coming from a background where things were not okay. And many times when I'm dealing with creatives, I understand where they're coming from, the burning, where it's coming from. But I always encourage people, because I think that is my role, to tell them that if we do not put things in perspective, we don't handle issues properly, we'll be going round and round circles. We are coming from a background where we had nothing. And like Mr. Makumba said, I think we are at a place where we are better today. But if we do not appreciate what we have today, we will lose our time, we'll lose our focus. And from the submissions from my young man there, I can agree with him to say, in fact, some people don't understand that some of these laws exist. The laws are there, but we don't understand. What is our role as NAMA? What is our role as artists? Is to sit together. Even the farmers who we are referring to, government did not wake up and say, give farmers 75% or whatever percentage of whether VCP or whatever support that they get from government. They had to come together as farmers and submitted what they needed. And this is what even happened even when we begin to talk about the waiver that we received from government. Before I talk about the waiver, first and foremost, as artists, we exist. I am coming from NAMA, National Association of Media Arts. It's an association that oversees all those that produce for TV, television, radio, and online nowadays. My association falls under the National Arts Council. The National Arts Council is an act of parliament of 1994. But very few people don't know that. So if you don't know, you'll go and say, there's nothing that government is doing to us. So what it is that, I'll use a local term. It's like the way we said, government looks at different aspects everywhere. And if we do not make ourselves viable, we don't organize ourselves. Government will be going to the mines, government will be going to tourism, government will be going to manufacturing, because they've known that these are organized sectors and they can quickly mint in terms of money that is being contributed to the coffers. So first and foremost, if they hear us saying that we don't want even to pay tax, are they going to pay attention to the sector? Because you must prove that you're able to contribute to the GDP by paying taxes. So already we are saying, tax. How do they come and invest in your sector? They cannot. So what we need to do is NAMA and the creatives come together. Let's have a bigger voice. Let's list down what are the things that we want. Government is listening, but government is like a mother who has got 10 children. Uyalelila, uyalelila, uyalelila. Oh, let don't say, either mommy more. Mommy will look at that child. So what are we saying? Let us be organized. Let us list down the things that we want. Where we are sitting today as a sector, we are very exposed. We travel. We collaborate with our colleagues in other countries. We know what is happening, and we know how far behind we are. In some areas, we are even ahead. But we are saying, as a sector, where do we want to go? What areas, what thematic areas are we lagging behind? It's not just IP laws. There's so much. Infrastructure. Do we have film schools? Funding. Do we have funding? But we're not going to sit in this podium and complain. All this that we're doing here, if we do not do a communique after this, to say now this is a paper that we should go. Either you send me as the head of the sector to go and present to the PS to say, sir, by the end of next year, or as Minister of Finance is sitting, thank you that you've given us a waiver. Now we want a commissioning fund. If we do not have an organized voice, we'll just be talking. What I've realized, you can clap for me if you want. What I've realized is that the information is not being given out. And I can take the blame that probably we've not organized these symposiums. Like you're saying, this is the first. This is not the first. There have been people before us. A few market. No. People before us have used to do these things.
This is the first few market. Madam,
okay, let me I'm the one with the I'm the one with the mic. Because if we're not going to get organized, thank you, it's a first. Well, let's not argue on irrelevancies. You understand? We spend time arguing on irrelevancies. Let us get organized. Let us be serious for once. Let's have a communique where we're going to say, this is what we want, and this is the kind of support that we want. Let me tell you, you are seated here, you don't know how much battle we have to fight. We are at a ministry which has got 3 big babies sport, youth, and art. And you have to prove yourself even there. I'm telling you, like you had said, I'm agreeing with you. Today, if the football team says, we want to go to Comoros, they'll give them money. If Becky says, I want to go to a film school, we have to write and rewrite and rewrite. We're not going to be crying over that. Ours is to fight for what is ours and get, and use the laws that exist to get what is ours. So what am I communicating to everybody and to you, my brother, is that yes, we may have not got the attention, but for the attention to come to us, it is us to be organized and fight for what is ours. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just quickly tackle the issue that you raised with regards to ZMBC and its processes in acquiring content, and you've mentioned that you now ignore ZNBC. I just want to emphasize that ZNBC is just but one of the platforms that acquire content, and how we operate is different from other players on the market. The way ZNBC operates and acquires content is different from my colleague here from Inuit. What you should appreciate is that ZNBC is a public institution, and it is governed by laws. And all public institutions are governed by public procurement laws, which ZNBC is not immune. We equally have to follow those guidelines that government has set up. So the argument that the processes are cumbersome and they're quite tedious, it is just a requirement which we have to satisfy as a public institution. Mind you, we are not spending private money to buy that content. We are spending public resources. This is money that we are supposed to be accountable for as an institution. We are audited by the Auditor General. So whatever monies we spend, either on content or any other service, has to be accounted for. And we have to adhere to the processes that government has laid down. So we may be different from other players that are acquiring content, but we cannot compromise that process for the sake of making sure that I quickly get your content. But it will land us again in problems from our parent ministry or the government. So what we are just appealing to our colleagues in the film industry is that the idea of wanting to operate as, because in the past it used to be like you're operating a canteen, you just walk in, say, have this DVD, can we do business, can we transact? We are saying let's operate as business entities, regulated, making sure that we satisfy all the requirements that will make you eligible to do business with a government institution. You may not only be doing business with ZNBC. Any other ministry or any other public institution that you go to do business, those will be the same requirements that they will ask of you that you've run away from ZNBC. So what we are just saying is that let the industry grow to the extent that we operate as businesses. We can do business with any business, any government or any public sector institution. Thank you.
Okay, so the other thing I would love to add is I think media is changing fast every day. And we are still working on the policies, I think, for the past, I don't know how many years now? None of it has even come up. So one thing I would want to add now is that let's keep engaging, because issues of intellectual property, they come in different forms. And as media is changing every day, we're having different cases that are coming. I think we have about 3 or 4 cases now that are happening. So those are case studies that we are using to see how we engage and see how we can mitigate in future intellectual disputes that we're having. So just to add up on what Madam Bridget has said, is I would urge creatives to start engaging us on these issues so that we can see how we can also engage the relevant authorities to come through to our aid.
Okay, I'll take 2 more questions.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Harley Lee. I'm also a Zambian filmmaker. Okay, I have 3 questions. And these questions bother me a lot. The first one is the same IP. There are times where I might think of a concept, right? Becky might have the same idea, The way I'm going to write it, maybe Becky is in India. I'm in Zambia. We write the same thing, okay? The way Becky is going to go with it is totally going to be different from how I'm going to go with it. I've had this issue where when you submit, maybe you're pitching somewhere, they ask, okay, one the synopsis, one this, okay, you want to do a series, okay, yeah, submit maybe 2-3 episodes. The moment you submit, even just one episode, there's a feedback that comes to say, we might have the same idea by somebody else. I'm always against that. Because for me, it sounds to be theft. They might not have the same idea, they might not have the same concept, but just because they love it, they don't like you, they don't know you, they will find somebody else and do it, and give it to that person to produce. But just because they sent you that to say, there might be, already you've lost. For me, I would ask, maybe the two gentlemen, maybe because they are on that side, they might have an idea or an answer to how can we be protected from how can we delete that part that says we might have. Because definitely we have seen shows starting with one person, given to another person, and it dies. Why? Because the originator was, deleted from the list. So the story dies immediately. I've seen that, not only here, but in other countries that I've been to. So that's the first one. How do you protect us from that? Because once you just pitch in, you've released your idea. When that message comes, you've lost. Then the second one is, it goes to Nama. I've noticed, since I came back, since I came back, I've tried to sit down and understand our film business. I always say this, sorry if it's going to offend you or anybody else, we don't have an industry. There's no film industry here. And I have whatever it takes to defend it. An industry should have policies, rules, regulations, and other stuff. But here, we are still fighting just for one thing, film policy. What is it that is taking, what is it that is making it take long just to be enacted? Who are the people that are involved in the same, so that we say, okay, even us who have a bit of knowledge in those things can sit with them and say, oh, what is going on? Because we are not going to be protected. The IP will be irrelevant. It's not going to exist if only that is not enacted. We'll talk about IP here. As long as the film policy is not there, it's useless. We are not going to go anywhere. So as Nama, I wish Nak was here as well, what is it that you feel can help the film policy get into play as soon as possible? That's my second one. Then the third one is, I would say, I'll still stand with myself. I've moved quite a lot, and film is what has made me move. Film, nothing else. I've learned different things in different countries, in different film industries. I've noticed a bigger problem here in Zambia, where artists complain a lot but do nothing. They'll be all over social media complaining, saying things, but they absolutely do nothing. Look here where we are. This is an opportunity. I've been to different film festivals. These, like what is happening right now, is where people come, share ideas, learn, and do what. But count how many are here. Since the one, how many have been here? So as an association, how do you put out the information to encourage them to come and attend such events? I understand maybe because the few market is, or the business arena is the first time, but I think this was supposed to be advertised. Where's Martina? Okay, so this was supposed to be advertised. I'm that person, obviously you know me. I don't sugarcoat. Zambians, especially artists, they like sugar-coated information. I'm not that person. I see a wrong, I'll say it. You hate me, it doesn't matter. As long as one day you realize to say, oh, Lee said something like this. But we need to sit and plan as NAMA. What is it that you want to do to make sure like people buy into your ideas? I love what you're doing right now. You are really pushing. I'm able to see personally. But how are you trying to like emphasize or let's say send the message out there to say these are things that you need to, to attend or to do for us to have a better industry? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lee. And I agree on some of the things that you have raised here. I'll start with the last ones. In terms of artists, we're very good at complaining and pointing at the wrong. Since we came into office, I'm sure my vice president will attest with me, we've tried to engage. We've tried to engage at personal level. We've pushed to engage at production level. We've tried even to engage at provincial level. I'm telling you, when I saw the effort that Martina and the team have put in terms of pre-advertising before this event, I expected people to come here. I'm actually very ashamed as I sit here as NAMA president, because if we were just the only ones ourselves to be, Twalibelela, but this is an international festival. And this is the 10th edition. If we go back to our social media pages, we'll see how many people were supporting Sotambe. People even changing their status, posting the Sotambe posters, advertising, liking, tagging. But where are they themselves? Tomorrow, they are the ones who are going to start complaining, there's nothing this happening, there's nothing this happening. But where does it start from? It starts from us as individuals to say, if this is not an industry, what is my role to make it an industry? I agree with you, Lee, to say because we have no policy. But we can even get that policy. I'm going to answer your questions. What is NAMA doing? We can even get that policy if they see how we push ourselves. But when there's an event like this, I'm not sure if whether the ministry has been here, but yesterday as there were preps at the Lusaka Playhouse, the PS walked in. I don't know how many people have turned up to the opening today there. But how many members do we have on NAMA General? More than both Copperbelt, Lusaka, and everywhere. That page is full. How many paid up members do we have? That page is full. These panels have been power-packed. People need this information. But where are they? So the question is, what have we been doing as NAMA? We've tried to reach out. We are trying to reach out. You are one of the people that said, no, Madam President, bring up a symposium. Bring up a few Mindam. Lee, you find yourself there at that few Mindam. Probably with Becky. Because somehow, it's you that are very passionate and push these things. But for the people that we are fighting this industry for, they don't want to come out and learn. So as NAMA, our way forward, which we have put in place, probably our 2024 roadmap, is that we want to do a database. On that database is we want only NAFLA, things that we have done. Because we need to start grading people, things that you have done. Even the activities that happen in NAMA are some of the benefits that will make you, when next time you come and say, I'm a filmmaker in Zambia, I want to come and have a waiver. Who got your name? Lee, Nafla, ID number, papa. Uyuda kuma first for Tesa, Uyuna kuma shan Tesa, and the 5 of you and the next person is supportive and they participate, we'll put that as a reference. We must find a way somehow to compel people to begin to associate. Zambians are good at complaining. When we say, let's sit together and make a solution, they'll know where to be seen. Or the one who says, what is NAMA doing? We are not here. We don't have this. But have you even called? I don't even know you in my inbox. Have you even come to me? Yes, I may not have an office, but I create, wherever I move, I'm an office. Do you even know my number? You don't. But you're all over saying these things are not done. You start with yourself. What do I want in this sector as an artist? Who are the immediate people that are there to manage this industry? There's NAMA. If NAMA is not doing anything, there's a National Arts Council. If the National Arts Council is not doing anything, do you even know that we have a director of arts? We must be making that office very busy. But we would rather complain where we are. That is why I'm saying the way forward, and what I'm giving everybody here is, let's come together. Let's make a communique and fight for what is ours. Even those that are seated and are sleeping, when they find that the 4 or the 5 of us that are active begin to benefit from things that we have put together, they'll wake up. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe just a quick one.
Our internal NAMA problem. So we can have this discussion at another time. Let's stick with what is on the discussion as we ask questions, panelists.
Kalumbu, could you respond?
Thank you. Yes, I think there was a concern with regards, where you submit your works and you're told there's a similar, I think from my experience, I think what I can share is that dealing with acquisitions, I have found myself in such a situation, but not to say that I have 2 exact concepts or proposals that are sitting before me. I think you may have a situation where you may have, there may be similar concepts. So it may, for me, who's sitting on a tight budget, it will be an issue of, let me not duplicate, this content. I may equally try to have a totally different, idea to go for. But I've had situations, not really on the drama series and the movies, but we've had situations where people would walk in and say, I have this talk show, this proposal of a talk show or a reality. But the question that I would usually ask for such concepts is it any different from what we are doing? Because as ZNBC, we equally have in-house productions that are dealing with certain talk shows. Some have walked in with a concept literally similar to Smooth Talk. So I would say, what would be the point of me acquiring this content when it's exact to like Smooth Talk, which we already have as a corporation? So it is those situations that I've encountered, but not to say that these are exact concepts. But the issue is, how do I manage a tight budget to make sure that I don't duplicate content on my channels?
Sorry, sir, maybe on the same. On the same.
Yes, please.
I think, sure. So I've encountered this very same challenges in Malawi, where I've encountered the very same challenge where you are given a chance to present your idea. You present the idea, and they will, okay, we like the idea, and then they'll say, okay, give us the treatment, and you do the treatment, and you submit, and they say, okay, all right, give us 2 episodes. The moment you send the 2 episodes, they are quiet. And you find that after some time, they'll bring that almost similar show somewhere else. So I think that's where also I had the challenge to say, how do we protect in that scenario? Thank you.
Also, we take the questions, then answers, then we end the session. We need to wrap.
All right, thank you so much. I just want to find out if there are any platforms, and if they're not, maybe we could look into it, where we can have these laws put down for us, just the preliminaries, just as you're getting started, what do you need to put in place, maybe on a ZNBC website, on a NAMA website, where we can, for those of us that may be new in the industry, where you can find these things and you use them, what is available. And I got 2 questions, I wrote it down. And how also can we help you as NAMA? Those of us that, for example, I may be coming from the other side of Zambia, on, the far end of Zambia, in southern province. But how can we help you propagate your agenda, our agenda, in developing this as an industry? What can we do to help you push for the things that we are crying for? Thank you.
Okay, I'm coming back to intellectual property, IP. IP is a very tricky, it's a very tricky thing, number one, especially most of the cries that I hear from Zambia about IP are textual. They are textual. In the fact that whatever we present when we are pitching is in a textual, is in textual format. And every time you take an idea from your own space and you put it in another space, you're running a risk. And in any business field, there are risk factors. You can't run away from that. And then number two, we all tap ideas from the same source, okay? We all tap ideas from the same source. I'm gonna borrow from religion. There is nothing new under the sun. And it is very possible that an idea would drop in my mind and the same idea would drop in your mind. The only thing that differs is expression. Okay? And that's how come, like, when somebody steals an idea that I've shared, I really don't care because you will never express it the way I will. Okay? Because my expression is unique to me. And looking at people who receive submissions when you're pitching, they are looking at a lot of material. And I think, like, I'm speaking from this point because I've been able to sit on judging panels where we're looking at material from different people, and I can tell you I'll be reading a pitch that is similar to 5 other pitches that I have read in the same basket. Okay? And then number two, one thing I've noticed about us Zambians is, I'll call it this, premature pitching. We pitch our projects way too prematurely before they take our identity. And I think working with other filmmakers from other markets, I've come to learn how our friends do it. I've come to see how our friends do it. I've been working on a project, we're still in pre-production, and it's over a year now. The project is still in pre-production, and they have not pitched to anybody yet, but they are planning to pitch to the cans. They've got a list of places where they're going to pitch. But when you go on social media, you look for Black Scissors Revenge, you'll find a lot of material. It's already in the ownership of their producers that even when they go to pitch to the cans, it's not going to be new material. They've already taken ownership at different levels. And another show that I'm going to make a reference to that I've seen that has been pitched in that way in Zambia is Shimumbi. Shimumbi was already a brand. It was already a brand surviving on its own before it went on DSTV. And it's very hard for somebody to come and get that brand and say, it's mine, because they already built their mileage, they already built their DNA into it before they went to pitch it. And I think it's one of the problems that we have. We have an idea, we get so excited, you want to share and share. I had that weakness also, of like, creatives were like that. We get an idea, we get super excited, we want to share, but we don't know the risk that we're running when we're sharing ideas with people. So I feel like when it comes to intellectual property protection, is not the work of policy, it's not the work of documentation, but we need to realize that we have a role to play as well. When do you get to share? How do you personally protect your content? How do you personally protect your IP? Like I've seen, I learned something from one of my Kenyan producer friends, Zipi Kimundu, is you actually, she has like multiple documents when she's pitching. She does not take the entire product. When she comes to pitch to you, she's got a strip. Just tidbits. She knows how much information she can lay out and how much information she can't lay out. As we take the entire baby, we put it on the table, and when somebody picks up the baby and they go, you start getting surprised. And this is happening even in different industries, okay? IP is not just the film industry problem. Even in different industries, I mean, like creative works are happening in different industries. People design products. They'll design a building, they'll design a boat, they'll design. Right now, Mark Zuckerberg is designing a new product which nobody knows about. Okay? And then when it comes, we're just going to be like, boom, oh, okay, there's this oversharing. Intellectual property is also supposed to be protected by us, the owner of the intellectual property. The moment, like, it's not just in Zambia where you'll find a disclaimer of whatever you're pitching to us, you should know that we receive ideas. It's with every platform. Everywhere where you're going to pitch in the world, be it you go to Netflix, you go to any distributor, any funder, any commissioner, you are going to find that disclaimer. You will find that disclaimer. There is no running away from it. So I feel we need to understand that intellectual property protection is also our job as creatives. Don't overshare. And even when you're sharing with a friend, please learn to make people sign NDAs. Okay? Yes, we are friends. I'm sharing something with you, Lee, but I'm going to make you sign an NDA. So.
Okay, it's just a quick one. My name is Edgar Chikombe Mlinga. Yeah, so Mr. Lumpa talked about the proof when we bring the content. Is there any ways, Mama President and the Vice President, where you can help us? Because most of us, we may not know kuma dozia, where we can get those letters from the ministry so that we take the proof. Yeah, and by saying this also, I'm taking myself back to a time when we have great artists, musicians in Zambia who could not make it because most of the producers were saying you should bring the written song, you should write a song before we produce it. But we came to have a time when one of the friends to the Vice President introduced the Jerabo type of recording, and we saw one of his songs being watched on BBC. So, but there are others who could not write the songs, and they are not even musicians. So even us, there are some artists, creatives who have contents, but they may not manage to get that proof. What is it as the association are you doing about it to help us? The second one, I've forgotten. So sorry.
Thank you. It's a wonderful question. I can help answer that one. For proof of ownership, the basic way is just to go to a commissioner for oaths. Since you're saying it's yours, just get that. Them, all they need is they have proof you provided that it is yours. Now, it could not even be yours, remember. But for the law, have it that the commissioner for oaths says it's yours. That's the proof you need. So.
Yeah, so the quick one, the next one was, I do remember when we were doing comedy, we had some big platforms whereby you create your content, and then the moment you start punching your lines, you hear the audience saying, yeah, so we were forced to register our brands with Pakra, Sharpshooter Arts, but again, making the returns, it became an issue. Every time they send a message, trying to go to the internet cafe to make the returns until we stopped. Until Empowerment Fund came, we found that we haven't done the returns. We started pushing now. You want to write the proposal, pushing that. Yeah, again, the association, instead of registering as individuals when we cannot manage, what are you going to do to ask for us to protect our contents?
I think starting from the first one is massive awareness. But like Mr. Magomba's put it, I think I pitched one production to ZNBC, and I think among the few things that were requested was just an affidavit, just to go to any commission of oath to say, this is my title, this is my idea, and of course, the drafts, the script, the synopsis you put there. They just sign on it and then put it there. Then secondly, I think you've seen that most of you that want to buy equipment now, you are being referred to the association, which you for, I don't know if you're a musician or a filmmaker. For that reference, first of all, you need to belong to an association. Then we'll know, oh, this is Lee. And we'll know what you're doing. So that people don't take advantage of these, either waiver or anything. So the same with ideas. If you come, it will even be a rubber stamp for you to go to ZNBC, also having our letter to say, we are aware that this is a member of NAMA, he is a content creator, and we know of what he's doing. Because commissioners of oath, they act upon what they just hear. Oh, I've got a car outside. They won't bother to go say it, apart from when you're getting a national registration, the passport, because you've got to take your pictures, they'll see your face. But certain things that we declare, they don't see them, especially that most of them you just pay them and they sign for you. But the association, the difference is we'll know you one by one before ZNBC knows you, because they will not have time to, come to Southern Province or Western Province. But we'll have that database, and then we'll look you up and say, okay, this person does this and this is his idea, and rubber stamp that. And you're going to have a letter that will support you to go to. So it's just massive awareness, and this is all coming to a one bigger system, is that database is coming down. Then I think there was a question from you on how you can help us. I think you really need to reach out, mostly on a lot of issues, constant engagement. We have a database, but we don't have an extensive, sometimes just reach out and say, okay, I'm so and so, give us your profile, and then let's start exchanging ideas. Because today I believe from this discussion, there are a lot of things that we are lacking behind, including myself as a producer. There are things I know that needs to up, you see? And as we meet and start engaging, it will be easy for us to take that voice up there. I'm one kind of a person who can walk right now with you and say, look, this is taking long. I know where the process is. For instance, for the 2 policies, I think they're all done. I think you saw the team coming around your provinces, validating with you these policies. I think they are now at, is it cabinet? Cabinet. Just pending a few things for it to be enacted. Yep.
Are we closing as well? Okay, let me. I don't wanted to wrap up in my closing, but if you want me to. Okay, all right. I'll use this as a wrap. Like my vice has said, I think even as for NAMA, we've learned a lot. I'd want to thank Sotambi and all of you that have poked and see where we're lagging. Sometimes when you're in a comfort zone, you think everything is okay. That's why we're saying, reach to us, tell us. You are the ones who elected us. You elected us. So some of these things you need to poke us, but we'll also tell you that we're not just sitting, this is where we are. So I think what we lack is an interactive interface. So we begin to inform you what you're doing. Let me start with the policy. On the policy, it's been overdue. Even us, when we came into this executive, we found it. And I can safely report that we have pushed it to the level where it is at cabinet. We went round to inquire what is it that you want. It like we started all over again. People gave input. It went again for validation. Is this what you said? Yes. All right. Then they drafted. The draft at cabinet, that is where they draft policies. So even them, they look at your language. That is what is just being done there. It's like minutes. Is the grammar correct? Things like that. But otherwise, the draft we've given them, they're just looking at it to make sure that it fits a government document. So what is remaining now, when it just comes there, it is to launch it. I love the matrix that is there for the implementation. We are hoping that the implementation activity that has been put there, if they are followed, I think 2 years from now, we'll not be crying about these things. Coming to our stakeholder engagements like ZNBC, I want to report to you that the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Arts with NAMA and NAC, we've signed an MOU with ZNBC. Some of those lengthy issues that you were talking about, yes, they are government, but there's a way in which the way we've been contacted Zanaco and these other companies to say you can have products, generic products, but there's you have to have a product for the arts, because arts are a bit different. So it is in the same manner that government is discussing with the ministry. So far, I can safely report to you that we are going to start a national SOP under the MOU that we've signed with them. And it is up to now us as creatives and NAC and NAMA to sit on how best would this SOP be done, so that it is called a national SOP. Are we going to have production houses from all the provinces, or are we going to have all the provinces produce their own and then we bring it together? So those are modalities that we're talking about. Sis Becky has worked out. She's part of the team that is working on that. And when we come to talk about online streaming platforms, in terms of intellectual property, they also want to cover themselves. All of these people, ZMBC, Inuit, all those, they come to NAMA to say, how can we work with your members? We may not have the act or the law to protect, but they understand that we also are the gatekeepers to our producers. So they come to us, we have agreements on how they should access our members. And we've told them that if it is a member, if you want film, of course you're a business, but I think it would be better for you if you got content from NAMA members, because for anything, even NAMA will come in and say, what went wrong here? We may not use the law, but we are very comfortable with the people that we've put in place that help us to mediate when we have intellectual property. Like I said, Mr. Makumba is one of them. Others are not here, but it has worked. It has worked so far. And is there anything else that I've...
I think just one before I forget my...
Okay, so I think so far so good. Thank you so much for having us, and God bless.
So we had initially done a national survey, I think last year, to have members submit their information. I think that is going to come again by the fall of this year, so that we can have, beginning of the next year, we have a site where you guys can just look yourselves up and then see how others are doing in terms of services and stuff. That is underway in our roadmap. But I would encourage you to submit your information, like you're an artist in this province, you do ABCD and stuff. We had done one. I think we have not a lot of members. Like the voices are too many, but the names are like, if we look at our database, the paid up against the few makers is not tallying. So we'll run that one again. You'll see it, I think, coming through, so that you can put up that information so that whoever wants to access who, or be it us looking up for you, in terms of maybe linkages and stuff, please, I would want you guys to actually submit your information. Thank you.
Final comments from Kalumbu and Alick.
Well, just to thank you for having invited us to be on this platform. It's actually interesting that as we were discussing, we equally, are learning from each other, and even as we go back, we obviously have to get some of the issues that have been raised, and try to see how best we can improve processes from our end. So that's such kind of interactions are very very important. They're quite an eye opener, so that obviously going forward, we definitely have to have a win-win situation between platforms like ourselves, the national broadcaster, and the film producers. Thank you.
Thank you once more. I think all the points that were raised were very valid, but I think from today, at least now, we know that there's a channel of communication. If we can follow the right channel, we start from NAMA, National Arts Council, to the ministry, that will be easier. What they call copyscapes. Let's read about copyscapes. It's something in IT. You can do custom Google alerts so that you get an alert when your content is uploaded, because Google is a search engine. So anything that is uploaded on the internet, Google is able to send you an alert that actually, no, let's say a movie from NAFLA has been uploaded. That's another way to protect our staff. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a final comment? 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this is more insightful. So I just have a suggestion. It's a suggestion on what I think could actually work. Okay, I think we can use if the what would I say? The film and arts policy might take a little bit longer because it's not up to us. Okay, so what like for people like Nama, what if we were to work, because in every industry or in every sector, it's not everything that is in place until you start facing those things. Remember at some point when driving, we just used to pass by the rail line. But after, there were a lot of accidents where vehicles started colliding with trains. They had put up a deliberate policy that ended up, that became an agent business in Parliament. And they amended it as law that when you're driving, you reach the rail line, at least you need to stop. It wasn't there. It hasn't even been, it hasn't existed over 10 years, you remember. So we can try to find a way, maybe as NAMA, you can try to find a way deliberately just about IP that protects this sector. Push it as a motion, as agent business. They can implement that as law. Because for as long as this industry is growing, and we're going to start facing bigger challenges when it comes to this, especially knowing it's not exhausted too much here. It can work as agent business.
All right, this is a networking event, so we are taking the questions now to the networking session. So I want to appreciate our amazing panelists. You did an amazing job, and I believe we all are learning, and we have taken out points, action points, and I'm from Kenya, so I'm hoping to see things implemented by the next time. I'm definitely coming back, even if it's just as a delegate, but I'm really impressed even by these discussions. They're amazing, and we'll push when we keep having honest conversations amongst ourselves. So thank you so much, Kalumbu from ZNBC. Thank you so much, Madam Bridget. Thank you so much, Morgan. And thank you so much, Alick. A round of applause for them. Thank you so much. So we'll just take a short break, technical bathroom break, and we're coming back to another session where we'll be talking about social media as a tool for content promotion and monetization. We said this year's market is all about money. We are positioning ourselves to win, and yesterday social media came out very strongly as a platform, so we also put it as a panel to make sure that we are making good use of all these platforms that are existing for our benefit. So our Morgan is going to be the facilitator for the next session. So my panelists, stay put and see you in 5 minutes.